Hey guys, it's Perceive Me here. Today we're gonna do a gameplay breakdown. It's actually gonna be a duo commentary. So it's me and then Gumo here. He's joining us, and we're going to break down one of Gumo's trials matches. And I think it's a good match. I think there's a lot of learning points that players can take away from just watching a review of a trials match that goes really in depth, more so than the average match. So we're gonna do our best to cover here. I have the talking points that I want to have, but we're going to have Gumo here to chime in and give kind of the perspective of the player. And after the review, we'll kind of go into his build, why he uses it, and kind of how he leverages it against his opponents. And I know in the match itself, Gumo is going to be using a high impact fusion rifle. So he's essentially leveraging the ability to one hit kill to the body outside of shotgun range, but I think what makes Fusion special is they can also play inside of sniper range, so they can get a one hit kill to the body where a sniper has to hit a headshot up close, and then they could also get a one hit kill to the body outside of shotgun range. And shotguns, you have to get up close to accomplish that. So what makes Fusion special is they can play between two ranges effectively, and that's kind of what separates it from special weapons. But we're gonna hop into the gameplay here. And Gumo, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I think it's pretty cool that we're doing a two-person review. Usually it's one person, just giving their personal thoughts. But I feel like since we both have similar mindsets and like similar builds, we'll be able to explain a bit more and get two different perspectives. I'm pretty sure we will have some deviating like opinions on some stuff. So
Yeah, it's good. And I think, I think when me and Gumo first met, we met back in Destiny 1, and I think he's come a long way as a player. I think he's playing way better than when we first started out playing with each other. So it's going to be interesting to see his growth. I think this is a match where he played very well, and we'll kind of see how the match breaks down and learning points we can take away from it. All right, so here and Gumo, just want to make sure you can see the gameplay.
yeah, I can see it.
Okay, we're good. So we're going into a trials match here, kind of midway through a card. He's playing a team of two. So he's playing against Canadian Mountie, Uncaged Monkey, and a player that's solo named It's Pyro.
Yeah, I was trying to see what we are up against here. Just
Yeah,
trying
and
to
that's
help two
always a good
people.
thing too. Like, know what you're going into at the start of a match. So as a match develops, you could kind of adjust accordingly, right? And the trials match is going to be Javelin 4. There's kind of an exterior area where there's left cover, and the majority of the match will be inside where there's a lot more cover to work with. So here we have It's Pyro. I'm just going to pause it here so you guys can get an idea of the loadouts the opponents are using. So we've got a Gunslinger Hunter. It's Pyro using Ace of Spades Funnel Web to start out. So Ace of Spades, Exotic Hand Cannon, SMG, that's in the energy slot. We have Untamed Monkey, a Night Stalker, Hunter, and again, Austringer Duality. And then we have Canadian Mountie, who is using a hand cannon bow to start. And again, here we have a snapshot of the Glacial Chasm fusion that Gumo's using. This is Gumo's loadout. Again, 100 mobility, 100 strength, Glacial Chasm with high impact reserves under pressure, and then an Eyes Luna with rangefinder snapshot. So anyone wanting to know what Gumo's using, this is what he's using here.
Yeah, so here I was actually thinking, how would I play this one because they had a bow, and it's Le Monarch, so Le Monarch's kind of it's still pretty strong in my opinion. If it gets in the hands of someone who's really good with a bow, it can be used, pretty deadly.
Yeah.
So I was trying to see like what I could use to give myself, the leverage in like certain situations where I would be like 1v1 against, the bow guy, or he hits a teammate and it poisons me instead. How would I play around that? I also did no communication for this match,
Oh wow.
the
Okay.
card, because I didn't. A lot of times when you're helping people, they kind of tend to freak out and stuff like that, and so I just wanted to, just be in like my own personal zone, like just win the matches and do what I got to do.
Yeah. So Gumo's going to be leveraging his loadout to affect the match. Again, he can't communicate with his teammates, so he has to work on his himself. So he's making an inside push here to the B flag area going through glass. And again, so here, just to start off, for someone who's never seen, this loadout before, he's using his kit. So he's using a Night Stalker, and he has a exotic Kefri Sting exotic hunter gauntlet. So essentially, it lets you do a quick fall dive. It's going to use your melee charge, and it's going to exchange that melee for True Sight. So again, I'm going to pause it here. I'm going to pause as little as possible, but I'd rather just kind of go back and replay. But here you could see the opponents. It might be kind of hard to see for you guys, but there's an opponent that he sees with his true sight at the mid rocket jump up, and then two near the hangar area. So he's going on a flank. And if you look at his pathing, he's actually hiding himself in cover, avoiding the enemy's line of sight, and going on a flank towards the hangar and Jav. So here's his first opponent. So this is an interesting little sequence here. So he comes across a player. So that's Umtane Monkey. This is the player who has the duality. So Gumo's invisible. Untamed Monkey's invisible. He actually misses Gumo with the duality. Gumo takes him out with his fusion. And here comes a Canadian Mountie who had a bow. So Gumo's able to take out the bow guy, use cover, and then prepare himself to take out the last opponent. It's Pyro. Right? So I'm going to replay that sequence from full. But this is actually a bad play from Untamed Monkey because he needs to be able to take advantage of Gumo's long charge time on his fusion and take him out before Gumo can get that shot off. But because he missed that play, Gumo's able to clean up the team. And Gumo, I don't know if you had anything to add to this sequence here. I'll kind of go back.
Yeah, I was gonna say, in the beginning there, when I jumped, I went to see, you kept your for intel, and then I jumped over so they couldn't see me. As much give as much like be as minimal as possible when showing myself. That first encounter though, yeah, that kind of threw me off. I was not expecting him to go invis as well. It's very dangerous, in those kind of situations when you let a shotgun get too close.
Yeah.
You can literally just lose that battle right then and there because how long the charge time is. It's high risk, high reward. But if you can time it right and everything, then it's usually more high reward than risk.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if a duality or a shappy, those are like big no-nos. You don't want those getting too close to you.
Yeah. So again, just a good instance of a misplay by Untamed Monkey not cleaning up Gumo with his duality. And then also Canadian Mountie not getting a bow shot off with his La Monarch
Yeah,
and
you
letting Gumo recover his health
probably could
and
have like
take
bow
out.
meleeed.
Yeah.
But yeah, at that
So
point, I
again,
was just playing radar, trying to see where he was at, and thankfully, my teammate was also typing at some points. I don't know if it was throughout the whole thing, but at some points, yeah.
yeah. So good play on Gumo and leveraging his loadout, but also some misplays by the enemy team. So Gumo goes invis here. He's going to this mid rocket jump up here. He doesn't have a Kefri yet, but he's using his radar, kind of getting a feel of where the enemies are. He catches its pyro really early. And I don't know if he was on radar. I'm going to go back and replay that.
I don't think he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, looked in the
So a very
direction.
good reactionary fusion. There's actually a good grenade by TJ Pranky, one of Gumo's teammates. He actually gets a good nade here to cover Gumo's right side. I don't know if you noticed the solar nade here,
Oh yeah,
but
yeah.
not big,
Mhm.
but it definitely influences your right side opponent.
Gives that like area denial.
Alrighty. So Gumo takes out two people. Gumo actually makes a really good read here on Untamed Monkey. Here, he sees Untamed Monkey inside, and we know Untamed Monkey is the player who has the duality on the enemy team. So Untamed kind of runs back into the glass area, and he tries to bait Gumo into chasing him. And Gumo reads this. He sees what's going on. He throws a suppressor nade where Untamed Monkey expects him to be, and is able to push Untamed Monkey out of cover. And I don't know if you had anything to add there to that read. I
Oh.
think that was the best play here.
Yeah, so in those kind of situations where you're deciding whether you should push in or not, I personally put myself. It's like kind of quick thinking and think like, what would I do in those kind of situations if I was untamed and I was shotgunning? Would I have tried to bait him like he tried to do to me? I probably would have. So it's kind of those things where you just have to think in the moment and like kind of try to look ahead. This could have gone like totally differently. He probably could have not peeked and went the other way around and killed my teammate type thing.
Yeah,
So it's always like, what would you do type situation, if you were the other guy on their team.
yeah. But yeah, really good read there. And
Thank you,
again,
thank you.
something to take away from that is you don't always have to make yourself and compromise your position in a match. You can make the smart play, use one of your abilities, and play the safe play. Sometimes the riskiest play is not always the best one. So here again, we have another a usage of the Carefree Sting Exotic Hunter Gauntlet, and I want to just make a note here. He uses his Carefree Sting here. He doesn't immediately see the enemy team, and I think one talking point is there's value in not seeing an enemy in a certain area. So Gumo's clearing the inside of the Javelin 4 map with his Carefree Sting, making sure there's no opponents. That lets him know that they're probably rotating outside.
Yeah, oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Any intel you can get from Kepri Sting is always valuable, no matter the situation. Whether you see someone or not, it's always gonna let you know like where they might be. It'll give you like, a hint here or there.
yeah. I'm gonna rewind a bit here, and I want to make a note too. So this is a real subtle but interesting decision here. So Gumo clears the inside with his Kefri Sting, starts working his way out from the inside out of the map. He sees an opponent near the heavy pillar on his left. I'm gonna try to replay that. Now, the interesting thing here is he on the radar. He sees a guy on his left, but on the radar, there's actually two on his right side. It's kind of hard to see there, but he has the enhanced radar. He sees one opponent on his left, and then he sees two on his right side. And because the opponent on his left is further back, the right side, even though there's more people, are an easier fight and more advantageous for Gumo and his fusion rifle. So he actually takes the right side fight. And I want to make a note here too. In the kill feed, kind of a bad frame, but Canadian Mountie, this is the bow user on the enemy team. He actually switches to a sniper rifle and takes out Gumo's teammate Excelsior with a sniper. So I'm gonna take a note of that kill feed and seeing the sniper because it's gonna affect the match in later rounds. So Gumo takes out its Pyro and Untamed Monkey, and there's only one opponent left on the enemy team near Gumo.
Yeah, one of the big things is definitely gauging distance with the fusion and how far you can actually hit someone. A lot of the times you're going to be in the heat of the moment and not going to know, and you're just going to go for the shot. But you just got to kind of remember, like, how far if you've done the testing, then you just got to remember, what that range looks like. You can't, obviously, you're not going to be able to, like, you know, do instant math in a game and, like, know, oh, he's this far, but, like, just remembering what it looks like, and knowing that it'll hit, then yeah, you should be fine. But yeah, I chose to take the inside, because the guy outside, he did seem a little too far, so I wasn't sure I'd be able to hit him in time if he, was maybe the bow guy or someone else.
Yeah. All right. So Gumo takes out Canadian Mountie here, and if you pay attention on the ground there's a DMT. So Canadian Mountie actually switched his loadout to DMT Sniper. So he's not using the Ayaz Luna bow loadout anymore. He actually switched up his play. But no snipers in the match have affected how Gumo plays up until this point. He hasn't seen it. Only his teammates have. So this is heavy round. This is round 4. So heavy round's interesting because essentially heavy ammo is a pickup on the map. Whoever picks up heavy is going to have a big advantage in this specific round. So Gumo actually takes an outside path here, and he's going to contest the heavy pickup. So you can see the enemies inside with the Kefri Sting. Takes out Canadian Mountie relatively early. And this is an interesting play here. So I'll play out the sequence in full, but essentially Gumo gets a pick early near the heavy ammo, and he commits to an inside push. So Gumo kind of puts himself into a compromising position, and he took out Canadian Mountie, who switched to that DMT sniper. But we also have its Pyro on Gumo's left side, who switched to a sniper as well. And if we remember, before he was using an Ace of Spades SMG. So Gumo is kind of getting crossed out between a sniper on his left side and then Untamed Monkey on his right, who has an Austringer duality. Now, I don't think the sniper hits Gumo here, but it's still that pressure from the sniper, the presence affected his movement, and Gumo gets taken out by Untamed Monkey's Austringer. Untamed
Yeah.
Monkey kills TJ Pranky off stream, gets a revive, and pulls a heavy to secure the round. And Gumo, I don't know if you could walk me through kind of that decision making or that play.
Yeah, so I went outside thinking that they'd probably push straight to heavy. I mean, most people do, they see heavy and they go straight for it. So I got this pick. Now, this part right here where you see them two on opposite sides of me actually threw me off.
Yeah,
Um, and it caused a bit of panic. It happens. Most of the time I try to just like keep cool and then try to get a pick. But I did panic after I think I got shot twice there by the guy on my right.
yep,
So I went for him first since he was closer. Oh no, I did. I got clipped by the sniper as well. Okay. Um, yeah, so I freaked out and tried to go for the right kill. But I ended up missing, and I mean that was the rest of the round there. Teammates ended up getting picked one by one, and that was the end of the round.
yeah. So again, just don't get too antsy if you do secure a kill. Um, just try to be methodical in your approach. Again, this is heavy round, so I think Gumo's in a spot to where he is correct for contesting heavy, but he committed to an inside push, and it kind of put himself in a compromising position. There's some scenarios, some instances where he probably gets out of this alive, but
Like if I
that's
hit
the
that
risk you
shot
take.
on the
Yeah,
first guy the first time, yeah, I would have. But yeah, it was pretty sloppy on my end. Pushing in like that was pretty more
but
careless than anything.
and I also want to give you the benefit of the doubt too. This is your first time seeing that player. It's pyro, or actually a sniper, and getting contested by a sniper in this match. So that's your first
Mhm.
time, kind of reacting to that in real time. So it's just interesting to see that. And again, this is kind of the power of securing heavy.
Yeah, heavy's definitely one of those things you want to get control of, but it's not something you have to pick right away. If you have control of it, then you are able to choose when you can pull it when it's safe to do so.
So yeah, going into round five, Gumo's up two. He doesn't really have to do too much. It's gonna be kind of a delayed start here. He's kind of, I
I think
think
I
he's
was
like
texting.
7 hours into a trials match here. But he's making a B flag push. He actually has his Kefries here. He uses it, and he's kind of getting a feel of where the enemy team's at. So he sees someone isolated on this left side elbow. Ends up being its Pyro. Takes him out with a three tap. Pyro hits a body, so Gumo escapes. And I want to pay attention to Gumo's pathing here. When he takes out its Pyro, he retreats. He recovers his health and rotates to a different angle so he could contest the enemy team. So he's doing two things simultaneously: recovering his health and getting a new angle to contest the enemy team. So it's very good pathing by Guma here. Again, he sees an opponent on the heavy ammo, and he's slowly working his way up and ends up cleaning the opposing team and securing the round. Now, I also want to give credit to TJ Pranke here. He gets a really good solar nade behind the heavy ammo pillar, and I think it's valuable because that's just one less place for the opponents to take cover in. And I don't know if you had anything to add to this round.
No, nothing really.
Okay. Yeah, good gameplay again. I think the pathing and the retreating, recovering his health
Hmm.
after taking out an opponent is very good. It's a very good habit to get into if you're a new player just starting out.
Because I think most people would rush the orb straight through from where I killed them at, and
Yeah,
there were two in the Kepri. I saw that there were two in middle, so like outside area. So they probably would have killed me if I went that way.
yeah, you definitely want to pace yourself. So we have an interesting opening here. So we're in a spot where Gumo uses his Kefri Sting Exotic Hunter Gauntlet. He sees an opponent outside and he sees two inside. So he takes the inside engagement, but the opponent has a sniper and Gumo has a primary hand cannon. So the opponent's weapon can one hit headshot him, and Gumo's has a time to kill on his weapon. So I would say it's probably not a engagement that's advantageous to Gumo here.
Yeah, no, I definitely got me, and I was like, bro, no way.
All right. So it's interesting to see how this round breaks down. So Gumo gets picked by a sniper, but I think Excelsior does a good job of trying to get Gumo's revive and throwing a stasis glacier nade to kind of block line of sight and secure the revive. Now, this play would have worked. The only thing is, TJ Prankley has to be there to back up Excelsior for this res to secure it when the other enemy team collapses. So this play could have worked and maybe developed a bit more, but TJ Prankley split off and took a different route. So the enemy team's able to close out the round.
Yeah, I think one of the bigger drawbacks of no communication in a situation like that one exactly is you can't really say anything to your teammates. You know, relay any information like, "Hey, go help him," get my res or something. It's you just have to like sit there and watch things unfold as it happens.
Yeah. Alrighty. So we have an interesting opening here. So Gumo goes into the B flag area and Javelin, and again takes his route that's been working for him. Again, if it's working for you, stick with it. Make the enemy team beat you. So initially, when he goes into this left side hall, he's peeking, doesn't see anyone immediately. He's standing up. His Gumo's teammates go with him there, and Gumo's contesting from the B flag area. So he uses Caffrey Sting here, sees the enemy team at the rocket. So Gumo's going on a flank here. He sees Untamed Monkey from a gunfight. He's weak and is able to clean it up. Doesn't need to use the grenade there, but he's still looking. So Gumo's actually playing for his super here. I'm going to rewind that. Gumo gets a pick, and he's really close to his super. So Gumo's going to play for his tether here. There's only two opponents. He takes out Untamed Monkey, and he gets contested by It's Pyro. So this is an interesting sequence. So while It's Pyro contested Gumo, he actually switched from a sniper to an SMG. And Canadian Mountie played for a revive while Pyro was contesting Gumo here. So it's a very interesting sequence of events, but Gumo does his best to take out an opponent and use a tether to prevent a revive. And I think that's good target prioritization. He takes out the guy with special ammo, and he's actually waiting to challenge to get his health back so he doesn't end up in a trade and go into a different round as a tie with down his tether, because Gumo's super, his tether was the only super used in this match. So I think that's really good patience and target prioritization by Gumo here. And Gumo, I don't know if you had anything to add.
Uh, I mean, yeah, the situation was one of those ones where like you're just like, who should I prioritize and for what reason?
Yeah,
Obviously I prioritize this guy because he's in front of me, he's in my line of sight. I tethered and it could have gone terribly wrong. They both could have shot at me, and that would have been end around.
yep,
So I go for the guy who's next in my line of sight, which would be the warlock, because he jumped to my left, coming into my field of view. So I went for him. And the ending play where I waited to get my health, I mean, tether's really strong. If they're shooting at it, I'd still be able to. He's distracted at that point, then I'd be able to shoot him.
yeah,
So there's no rush when you're using a tether, other than like, I don't know, like not peeking at all would be like one of the biggest things. But yeah, waiting for my health here was like the biggest thing I was waiting on,
yeah,
because it's like a two tap. It was quick, easy. But if I had peaked, yeah, that would have been really bad for my team, because they had already had 2 rounds on us. So me being down would cause them to get probably their 3 supers, and then they probably win the game.
yeah. And you'd only be left with two. So I do think that's a good job of, again, target prioritization, but also patience, not
Hmm.
forcing a trade there. And I think this just shows a lot of growth. Again, there's a lot of players who would have kind of rushed in there. Oh, I got the tether off. I'm gonna, take a vulnerable engagement instead of waiting for my health to recover. So I think that's a good learning point that someone could take away. Hey, pace yourself in these fun fights. You'll probably find success. All right, and that's the match breakdown. So, Gumo, where can the people find you? Drop a follow if they want to see more gameplay, a fusion, Kefri Sting, things like that. Again, I play with you a lot, but I want to also have a link to your stream if people want to check it out or ask any questions.
Yeah, sure. If you guys ever want to see like my point of view of things, when I'm playing with Perceive, you can find me at twitch.tv/Gumo with 3 U's. Um, yeah, I stream on weekends most of the time. I try to do trials helps when I can. If not, then I'm probably playing with Perceive, just running trials.
Yeah.
Appreciate doing this double review. I hope it was insightful for some, and maybe for others, you're gonna put on a fusion, because why not?
Yeah. Not a problem. And guys, if you have anything to say, just leave a comment down below. I'll read it. And if you want to see more videos like this, let us know. I enjoy doing gameplay reviews like this, and maybe you could take something away from it and get some value out of it. So thank you for your time, guys. Bye. So when it comes to like a fusion rifle and using the Carefree Sting Exotic Hunter Gauntlet, what do you like about it? How do you leverage it against players that you play against?
Yeah, so it's very like it's used for damn, we gotta redo this, bro.
Well, I'll be honest, I don't know what to ask because I
uh
use the shit too.
yeah.
So it's like, damn, I know how strong this shit is.
All right. I got an answer. Yeah,
Okay,
so
go ahead.
the reason I use Kepris, it's very like informational.
Yeah,
You relay information that you see that's happening in real time in the moment to your teammates for a very short amount of time. You have to be like precise with what you're telling your teammates. It gives away like positioning on the enemy team. If someone's, crouched in a corner, you'll see it, you can call that out, keeping your team alive, putting you probably in like a 3v2 situation type thing.
yeah,
So and it'll also let you know like where you can push, what lanes are free to you to, go into the safest play basically that you can make.
yeah. I think there's something to be said for the coverage thing giving you true sight. It makes you rely on yourself as a player to make plays. Because I think the difference between like a good coverage sting user and a bad coverage sting user is that a good coverage sting user is gonna make use of the information given to him. If you know where everyone's at with true sight, you do nothing with that information, you might as well just not have it.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where like you relay the information, but you also have to act upon it in your own way. Um, Definitely like setting up for like to catch someone who's like coming around, like behind you or something. Like you can tell your teammates like, "Oh, there's someone in front of us," but like, you can also make your own type of like go off on your own play and get a pick type
Yeah.
stuff.
Now, when it comes to fusion rifles in Destiny 2, what kind of draws you to the playstyle? Um, what made you kind of pick up a fusion rifle and stick with it instead of just like playing fusion once or twice, saying, it's not really for me," and setting it down? Like, do you find value in that playstyle? Is it just in your rotation of weapons, or do you really like main it now?
Yeah, so I'll start with how it came to be that I started using a fusion. Um, so around Forsaken, Perceive here one day was like, "Hey man, why don't you try a fusion? If you don't like it, I'll drop it. I'll leave it alone. You can
Yeah,
go back to shoddy snipe." Um, and so I tried a fusion and I thought it was really good. It was probably one of the coolest things I was using. I was like, bro, this is actually nice. And I think what what it really comes down to when you use a fusion is how your play style is. Do you like to use a rapid fire and go in like, like a shotgun or something? Me
yeah,
personally, I like to use a high impact. Uh it I personally think it's high risk, high reward. Um and but if you can charge it right, you pre-charge and then peek a corner or something, you can get a quick kill basically in the same amount of time as you would a, rapid fire or maybe a precision. Uh, so it really depends on like what kind of play style you want to do. But yeah, I'd say I'm a fusion main now. I rarely switch to like a shotgun or sniper anymore.
yeah. I think when it comes to fusion rifle, the draw to it is definitely interesting to me because I think in video games, fusion rifles are something that is unique to Destiny 2. Um, there might be different iterations of like a weapon with a charge time. Like I'm thinking of like the charge rifle from Apex Legends, but I
Hmm.
think fusions aren't something that actually exists in the world, right? Like if you think about like a shotgun, people can relate and identify with a shotgun because there's something they're familiar with. It actually exists. Same thing with sniper rifles, but fusion rifles is something that's more sci-fi, and I think it's kind of abstract and it's not as easy to pick up as a shotgun or a sniper. So people might not see the immediate advantages of like, hey, I can play outside shoddy range, I can play inside sniper range, and do them both very well.
Hmm.
Where those core tenets of like a sniper rifle, a shotgun. Those are what most people are familiar with. They don't really think outside the realm of that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Now, I want to kind of get into the exotic that you landed on when it comes to the hunter, because I know different characters use Afalupi on Titan a lot,
Hmm.
but you kind of ended up on Kefri's. Have you tried other exotics? Is that just your favorite one, or the one you just find the most useful? What made you land on it?
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely used stompies before. But again, it comes back to perceive.
I'm a bad
Yeah.
influence.
I think there was one day we were playing Elim and it was on, I don't remember the map, but it was Earth map. That's all I remember. Uh
Probably
we
Dead
ended up
Cliffs.
running triple was
It
it
was Dead Cliffs. It
it
was
was
Dead
Dead
Cliffs or Rusted Lands.
Rusted Lands, there you go. It was Rusted Lands with I don't remember his
Easy
name.
skills.
Easy, yeah, yeah. We started running triple Kepri.
It actually that exotic actually got nerfed after that video.
Oh wow, okay,
It got
okay.
nerfed after that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some things that they took away from Kepri. They can't like siphon off of teammates anymore. Their
Yeah.
smoke needs. Yeah, that hurts. But yeah, I picked it up then. I tried it out and I just thought it was pretty good. I mean, you can see where the enemy's at all times. Now, did I have like at that time? Yeah, I would switch back to stompies because that was something I was more used to, more comfortable with. But as time went on, I started using Kepri more, and now it's like that's all I use. It's really good. I would usually experiment with other exotics to try to find something that's like outside of like meta or that's really good. Um and then like just over time like I just stayed on Kepri and I mean that's how it is now. Just Kepri, man. Too good.
Do you think Destiny 2 is a competitive game? Do you consider that competitive? Do you play for fun?
That I mean, I guess it's competitive to people who believe it's competitive. Me personally, mm, it can be.
Hey, there's no wrong answer. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It can be, but like I don't know. I still like even from the last video, I still mostly play it for fun type deal. There's definitely like what face it. Yeah, that's people who try to be competitive in the game. I'm just more of a play trials and try to help people, just chill and laugh about like random stuff that happens in the game.
yeah, I think that's the best way to play it is with others. But for me, it's like if you consider the game to be competitive, like what do you have to show for it? I don't think there's a thriving scene.
Hmm. Hmm.
I feel like it's a niche. I don't know if it's worth the ego investment. Like if you have like a competitive ego in Destiny 2 and you're playing, I don't know if you get a lot out of that for how much you put in. I think you could definitely play like a more competitive game or a game that actually has like a scene or like a active support of that scene and probably get more for your time. Like I don't know if it's worth playing solely for the sake of competitiveness.
Yeah, to I feel like playing Destiny and being competitive in Destiny and like trying to go for like bragging rights, being like, oh, I'm the best number one player, stat wise. I feel like you're putting like that maybe would be potential into like the wrong game. Like if you want to like let's take Call of Duty for example. They have main events, they have Evo, stuff like that, and but you don't see that at Destiny. Like I understand like Destiny, some might say it's a great game, some might say it's not. But I don't think competitive is the way people should really look at it.
Yeah, I mean, I would. The reason I bring it up is because I think there's people who would probably watch the gameplay review of us that we just broke down and say, "Oh, this guy's using a fusion," and just dismiss it. It's just
Hmm.
like you could still play at a high level with a different loadout, a non-traditional loadout, and still like learn, still improve. Like I don't think that's limited to a specific loadout or a specific mindset when you play. I think anyone can play Destiny 2, pick up the game, and get better, or at least enjoy it. I don't think it's limited to a specific niche. I don't think people should be ousted if they play for fun or if they play for another reason. I think
Hmm.
that there's a divide in the PvP community, and I think that divide doesn't need to be as wide, especially when it comes down to like the reason someone plays and how they play.
Yeah, because I mean, when you really think about it, Destiny's actually like, well, the PvP, I guess, community is pretty small. Um, and but it's small for not a good reason. It's usually pretty things you see like are pretty bad about the PvP community. So like it's kind of trying to get people on the same page of like like someone can play how they want to play and they shouldn't be like like trashed on for it. It's kind of hard to convince people that. But like I mean I don't know. It's like I don't even know how to explain it. I really don't. It's just.
I think there's like I think Destiny when you play PvP, it puts you against an opponent, right? So
Hmm.
I think you can go into the Crucible with kind of like an us versus them mentality, and
Hmm.
I think that kind of carries over into how like players treat other opponents that they play against. Like if you go anywhere with like a us versus them mentality, it's kind of hard to like build something, build a community, build a scalable community of a group of people if everyone's at odds with each other and fighting against each other. I don't think it's just limited to Destiny. I think that carries over into like how they treat other people, how they treat other content creators, how they
Hmm.
treat like game developers. Like you see that everywhere. I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
But I think we could try to wrap this up here, Gumo. I think you came a long way from where you came in Destiny 1. I think you're a lot more refined. I see the improvement. I think that you're probably going to go really far when you stream. I don't think you have to necessarily be on all the time, but I think when you do stream, it's always enjoyable and funny to hang out in.
Well, I appreciate that. It's I don't know, it's kind of like dang, I really like changed from like how I used to play back in D1. When you look back at like old clips and stuff like that, you see like you can see the improvement, if you put in, like the time and like trying out new things and stuff like that. It really shows. And yeah, I mean I think it's pretty cool.
My perspective kind of changed the when I started, streaming and content creation. I want to build something. Like it's so hard to build something when everyone's just tearing each other down, right? Like if
Hmm.
you're constantly just angry, upset, tearing each other down, talking shit on people, like what do you end up with? Like you end up with literally nothing. If you tear each other down, people move away, they have nothing, you have nothing. It's just a
Hmm.
bunch of people by themselves. Like to me, that's how the PvP community feels. I'm in the camp where I like Destiny 2 the game more than the community around it. And there's so many times it's like reinforced like that's probably the correct approach, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't think I'm someone who could like champion like all the PvP players and speak up for all the PvP players because I don't know if all the PvP players are worth speaking up for. Like I think this kind of tacked on a part of Destiny 2 and I don't necessarily think like any of the live service models or content iterations benefit them in the long term. So it's just like I could do my own thing, play PvP, enjoy the game for what it is, but it's kind of hard to have a brand or like an image around the Destiny 2 community because the image probably isn't going to be what you want it to be. Like in my head, like the image of what a PvP player is has gotten destroyed from where it used to be. Like back in D1, where people would actively follow these content creators.
Yeah. Now it's like
It's like idols become your rivals type shit.
yeah, I mean I don't know, man. It's kind of weird seeing like how much more, I guess. I don't know if it's because we see more of the PvP community or if it's always been this toxic, But like I feel like me personally, over the years, like starting from when I played in D1, I feel like everything's just gotten more toxic the way things have gone.
That's honestly a good question. I would argue it's not better.
Yeah, yeah, I'd
Um,
agree.
so I can't speak to if it's always been like this or not. I think when you get into this gaming media space, you do kind of see the ugly side of people, especially if you're not necessarily liked. Like they treat famous who quote unquote famous people, people who have a lot of reach, different from infamous people, people who might not who be known for something good or something that's considered bad, even though it's kind of like anyone can do it.
Hmm.
I'm an example of like you could be infamous for using like a fusion rifle. People kind of associate you with that play style. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not something that's taken in like a positive light as of right now. Even though people should be able to use what they want, there's
Hmm.
kind of like a stigma around it.
Yeah, I feel like that people should definitely get to know, like, know. I guess maybe like not be so toxic to the opponents you face, but like, try to get to know them a bit, or like just have like a mutual like respect for people you go against. But I mean, I can only speak for myself, and other people do their own stuff. So I mean, it's kind of hard to like make that happen, or yeah, I mean, yeah, it is kind of hard to make that happen actually.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's something to be said about separating the person from the player in a match, right?
Hmm.
Like the player you're playing against, there's a person behind that, probably completely different from if someone's like a very tough opponent. It doesn't necessarily mean he's like this super ultra tough person. Like it could be, and I'm not saying that in like a weak sense. I'm just saying they might like be the nicest guy ever. You just don't know, right? So
Hmm.
you have to have the maturity to like take a match for what it is, and not like look too deep into it. But I think from the things that are important to me when I stream, I kind of want to end up in a network and end up in a group of friends, a group of people.
Hmm.
You can't shit on everyone and do that and be looked at the same. Like I want to be seen or at least taken seriously to a certain extent. There's just certain things you can't do. So like if you're just constantly tearing each other or tearing another player down or anything like that, someone you come in contact with, like how do you end up at the group with that mindset? Like the group's gonna tear it from the inside out.
Honestly, yeah, I think I've seen it a few times. Like I'm not gonna name the person, but like thing is, he was toxic all the time, and he was actually a Destiny 2 player. And now it's like he was his chat. Like when you're toxic, you invite toxicity, right? Especially when you're streaming on Twitch.
Yeah.
So yeah, now it's I. He was actually streaming today, and it, no one was there. Like it was so bad. Like he was toxic. His chat was toxic, and it ends up just dying out. One by one, and that's literally what happened. Like no one's there anymore. He doesn't. I don't even think he plays Destiny anymore. Like that's like.
So yeah, that's an example of what I say ending up with nothing. Like in this
Mhm,
digital media space, like you have to have friends. Like I'm not saying like there's some toxic people who have toxic friends. That's not enough anymore. Like you have to have friends that you'd be willing to promote,
mhm.
friends you'd be willing to like share with another person. Good players who's like, hey man, you could play with him. He's gonna take you somewhere. Like there's so much that goes into like building a successful brand, a media brand. Like and your friend group is a big part of that because that's probably who you're going to end up with. What friends do you want to shout out? Who do you like playing with the most? Some
Oh
friends that
yeah,
you want other people to kind of check out in the Destiny community.
yeah. Sure, I can name a few people that I think are some people worth mentioning. I always check out Perceive. He's the homie. Since D1. Um, there are some people. I guess what Rowan's cool. Who else? I don't know. You
I
can
put
check out.
I put you on the spot.
You can always check out Stainless Maniac. He's really good at the game. He's a nice guy. Um, I don't really know who else to shout out, bro.
Shout out Smitty in the chat.
Smitty, yes, Smitty. T Dot. Who else is there? All the homies that be sticking around, in chat between Perceive and my streams. They're always great to have around.
I want to give a shout out to Chaos. Chaos is my first sub on Twitch, man. If Chaos didn't sub, like a lot of people don't know, when I first started streaming, the people who came into my chat were DDoSers looking to like stream Cypress and DDoS me.
Hmm.
Like it wasn't like a good start for me on Twitch. But I want to give a shout out to Chaos, my first sub, T dot as well. Nigel's actually my longest sub. Shout out to Nigel. He's going on. He's almost at like the 2 year mark, which is
Wow.
insane. I feel like I haven't even been streaming that long, but
When
shout out
did
to
you
him.
start streaming? Is the real question, Perceive.
I believe it was 2015. So
Ah.
2015, actually 2016.
When did you get
2016 is
more
right.
into it?
I got more into streaming because I don't I would say it was when D2 launched. but I actually started off streaming D1. So I like D1 so much that when D2 launched, it didn't have a lot in it. D when D2 launched, it didn't have a lot in it. D1 was actually a larger game at the time. I think it was more polished. I think it's different now. I think Destiny has a lot more in it now. Destiny 2, so it kind of overshadows the Destiny 1 now. But at the time, I like skirmish so much. I would stream doubles, doubles and skirmish with Stain and just other people from the clan. So that's actually when I started doing it more often. I think the gameplay kind of speaks for itself. I think when any game you can play at a high level, other people who play that game are gonna enjoy that content. I think it's just not something you see a lot. I think there's a lot of average players, a lot of above average players, but when you're in the top 1-2%, I think people are gonna enjoy seeing that. So I think I kind of I recognize that. I recognize the value of that. Um, I don't stream full time as my job. I think I do it the right way, where this is kind of like a hobby. It's more of a showcase when I play, but I make a living outside of this in the hospitality industry. So I think I streamed more often at the start of Destiny 2, but the gameplay and like the high level play has been there way before streaming. I actually came in late relatively. If you think of like a timeline, I got good at the game before I even cut the stream on the first time. And I think
Mm.
that's kind of played dividends. I also think I started gaming relatively early. So now that I'm broadcasting content, I'm actually able to make better decisions as an adult, and I'm not like some child that everyone's watching who's gonna like trip up a lot. Like if I do mess up, it's probably something I'd be willing to take accountability for, because I think a lot about like my likeness as a player, my name as a player, my decisions I make as a player, and that other people can see. So I'm really cognizant of like how I'm viewed, how I'm perceived. But I I think it's important, man. I think a lot of the content creators you see make mistakes are either young or they don't have like really good business sense or like how to carry themselves.
Yeah, that's sheesh.
Yeah, it's a deep question, but it's important. I want other people
Hmm.
to see that,
Hmm.
because we'd have a lot less mistakes as as PvP players. Smitty says, I enjoy watching your thought process as you play. Thanks, Smitty. From D2 to Apex, etc. Yeah. So once you get those transferable skills, you could take it to other games. You could take it to other mediums and avenues. Like I think even with Gumo, right? Like I don't think it's an accident me and Gumo play together as long as we have. Like Gumo's really entertaining. He's a funny streamer. He's actually a good player. Like I said, we saw in that gameplay review, he grew so much from where he first started that it's like it's no accident. Like he's a good like in my opinion, I think Gumo is going to constantly pick up. Like I don't see a downside unless Gumo just decides to just stop.
Hmm.
Like I don't, there'd be no reason. Like everything's there. Like I think he needs like a better lighting, maybe a better camera that's less scuffed. But
Better graphics card,
I
bro.
think if that's what your problem is as a content creator, I think you're in a good spot.
Mm.
Yes, Medi says I learned a few things from you and Gumo. Yeah, so definitely valuable.
Oh yeah, the fucking thing I was gonna say. I mean, all I was really gonna say was like, try to keep an open mind. Maybe give fusions a try, or try something new, try new exotic. Always be open to trying like something that is out of the normal for you or like the current meta. You never know what you'll find. You probably find something that's really good before it ends up blowing up, and then you could be like, man, like I mean, if you find something that's good, you'll probably be there from before it gets big and probably after. Like Fusion's got a buff a few seasons ago, but I mean, Prestige been using them since D1. You know, it's something that like he uses and he's stuck with for a while because he finds that it's good, and I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it is good.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, just always be open minded about things, especially in like Destiny 2 when you go against other people. You never really know who they are. Behind the whole screen.